A section. Hook. Everyone knows the Black Death killed a third of Europe. It's in every history book, every documentary, every classroom lecture you've ever sat through. But 800 years earlier, a plague hit the entire known world that was so catastrophic it ended an empire, plunged humanity into centuries of darkness, and killed as many as 1 in 3 people in the known world. Though even that may be a conservative estimate in the hardest-hit regions. And somehow, most people have never even heard its name. It was called the Plague of Justinian, and by the time you finish this video, you'll understand why it, not the Black Death, may have been the deadliest pandemic ever to strike our species. You'll learn how it derailed the most ambitious military campaign in Roman history, how it opened the door to the Arab conquests that reshaped the world, and how modern DNA from ancient teeth finally proved what this killer really was. This is the story of the plague that actually ended the ancient world. Section. The world before the plague. In the year 540 AD, the Roman Empire was making a comeback that nobody expected. See, most people think Rome fell in 476, and technically Western Rome did. But the eastern half, what we call the Byzantine Empire, was not only surviving, it was thriving. And its emperor, Justinian I, had a dream that bordered on insanity. He was going to put the Roman Empire back together, all of it. And the terrifying thing is, he was actually pulling it off. Think about what that means. Centuries after the Western Empire had crumbled, one man was dragging it back from the dead. His general Belisarius had just reconquered North Africa from the Vandals. Belisarius had made dramatic gains in Italy. The Mediterranean was becoming a Roman lake again for the first time in decades. Constantinople was perhaps 500,000 people strong, making it one of the largest cities on earth. Justinian was building the Hagia Sophia, rewriting Roman law, and rewriting history itself. The ancient world wasn't dead. It was on the verge of resurrection. And then something arrived on a grain ship from Egypt. Section. The plague arrives. It started quietly. The first reports came from Pelusium, a port city on the eastern edge of the Nile Delta, in the year 541. Merchants noticed rats dying in the streets. Then dock workers started developing swollen lumps in their groins and armpits. Within days, those workers were dead. Within weeks, the disease had spread along every shipping route in the Mediterranean. Constantinople was hit by the spring of 542, and the descriptions from eyewitnesses are almost unbearable to read. The Byzantine historian Procopius, who was actually there, claimed the plague was killing 10,000 people a day at its peak, though most modern historians consider this figure exaggerated or at best applicable to only the worst days. Bodies piled up faster than anyone could bury them. The city ran out of graves. They started stuffing corpses into the towers of the city walls, stacking them so high that the stench drifted across the entire city. They loaded bodies onto ships, rowed them into the Sea of Marmara, and just let them drift. And then Emperor Justinian himself caught the plague. The most powerful man in the world, lying in bed with black swellings on his body, hovering between life and death. His empire held its breath. He survived, but his empire never would. Not really. Section. The death toll that changed everything. Now here's a number that should shake you. The Black Death killed an estimated 25 million people in Europe. The Plague of Justinian? Some historians estimate 25 to 50 million deaths across multiple waves over 2 centuries, though recent scholarship has challenged whether mortality was as catastrophic as older estimates suggest. The true death toll remains actively debated, at a time when the entire world population was only about 200 to 300 million people. Do the math. That is potentially a quarter or more of every human being alive. Some regions lost far more. The Eastern Mediterranean, the heart of civilization at the time, may have lost 60 to 75% of its population in the hardest-hit areas. That's where the title of this video comes from. In the hardest-hit regions, 3 out of 4 people died. Entire villages were found with no one left alive. Farmland went untended. Trade routes collapsed. The tax base that funded Justinian's wars simply evaporated like water on hot stone. The worst plague in history didn't just kill people, it killed an entire civilization's momentum. Section. The empire that could have been. But here's the part that historians still argue about in academic journals. Before the plague, Justinian had made remarkable progress in reconquering parts of the Western Empire, including North Africa and much of Italy, though a full restoration of the old Western Empire remained a distant prospect. Some historians believe he was just 2 or 3 campaigns away from something close to full restoration. Others say he was overextended even before the plague. But almost everyone agrees on this. The plague made it impossible. The army shrank, the treasury emptied, the reconquered territories in Italy became impossible to defend. Within a generation, the Lombards invaded Italy. Slavic tribes poured into the Balkans. The carefully reconstructed western provinces crumbled again, this time for good. And if you've ever wondered why the Byzantine Empire spent the next 1,000 years slowly shrinking instead of expanding, this is where that story begins. And that's not even the biggest consequence. If you want to keep going down this rabbit hole with me, hit subscribe, because this is the kind of history that changes how you see everything. Section: The door opens for a new world. Here's what almost nobody talks about. In the decades after the Plague of Justinian, both the Byzantine Empire and its rival, the Sassanid Persian Empire, were devastated. Weakened populations, bankrupt governments, armies that were shadows of their former strength. These two superpowers had dominated the Middle East for centuries. And then, in the early 600s, they exhausted themselves in a brutal war against each other. So when Arab armies united under Islam emerged from the Arabian Peninsula in the 630s, they didn't face the full might of Rome and Persia. They faced the hollowed-out husks of plague-ravaged empires. The Arab conquests, one of the most rapid and consequential military expansions in all of human history, succeeded in part because the Plague of Justinian had already gutted their defenses. It had cleared the board. The entire geopolitical map of the modern Middle East, North Africa, and beyond traces back to this moment, to a disease that arrived on a grain ship almost a century earlier. Section: The Ancient DNA Revelation. But here's perhaps the most chilling detail of all. For centuries, historians debated what the Plague of Justinian actually was. Some thought it was a different disease entirely. Then in 2013, scientists extracted ancient DNA from the teeth of plague victims buried in a 6th century German cemetery. And what they found confirmed what some had long suspected, and overturned what many others believed. It was Yersinia pestis, the exact same species of bacterium that caused the Black Death 800 years later. The same pathogen, the same flea-borne transmission, the same horrifying symptoms, but a different strain. One that researchers believe originated in Central or East Asia, burned through the world, and then seemingly vanished for centuries before mutating and returning as the medieval Black Death. This wasn't a sequel. The Black Death was. The Plague of Justinian was the original nightmare. The deadliest pandemic ever recorded was also a prequel. Section: Close. The ancient world didn't end with a barbarian invasion or a single dramatic collapse. It ended with a bacterium so small you'd need a microscope to see it. One organism, riding in the gut of a flea, on the back of a rat, in the hold of an Egyptian grain ship, rewrote the future of human civilization. It stopped the restoration of Rome. It helped enable the Arab conquests that reshaped the world. It may have triggered the Dark Ages themselves. And yet, when we teach history, we barely whisper its name. Next time, we're covering another forgotten catastrophe, a volcanic eruption in 536 AD that may have actually helped trigger this very plague by causing years of famine and migration. You won't want to miss that one. But for now, remember this. The deadliest events in history aren't always the ones we remember. Sometimes the thing that truly changes everything is the thing we somehow manage to forget.